Yo, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We are on the eve of the beginning of IEM Cologne. The play-in starts tomorrow, which means we are finally in the swing of things of one of the biggest tournaments left on the calendar year. And so I thought I would take some time today and talk about my predictions of who are going to qualify for the main event out of this play-in, so that you guys have an idea of who to keep an eye out when the action starts tomorrow. We're keeping things pretty lo-fi, pretty chill today, so feel free to put me on in the background while you go about your day doing your other tasks. There won't be really any relevant things on screen for you to look at, so feel free to enjoy this as an audio-only experience. But before you put me in your pocket and finally start taking care of those chores you've been putting off all day, I need you to take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are just 4 measly subscribes away from hitting 2,000 subscribers on the channel. So what are you doing? Do it. If you hit that button right now, you will instantly receive a grand prize in the form of my eternal and undying love and appreciation. And is there any gift I can give you greater than that? Thank you. Other than that, consider supporting me by becoming a channel member, link in the description down below, and also follow me on Twitch, link down there as well. I'll be streaming tonight, talking about the first matches set up for Cologne, playing Counter-Strike, being bad at Counter-Strike, but hey, I can only get better, right? Right? Okay, speaking of getting better, let's talk briefly about the format. Obviously, we did a video not that long ago talking about how Cologne will be one of the first tournaments at ESL to fully eliminate best of ones from all forms of play. That means we are right into a serious gauntlet of matches just to qualify to the main event itself. Our 16 competing teams are going to be throwing down in a best of 3 double elimination seeded bracket to see who will qualify and who will be going home early. 8 teams will make it to the main event itself, and 8 teams will go home sorry and sad. Now, I already went into detail in that previous video why this is so good for the competition itself, but really, this is awesome. The 8 teams that make it through into the main event are going to do so in very legit fashion, because you need to win 2 best of 3s to qualify, and if you lose 1 best of 3, it's not the end of the world. So what we should play out is that all of the high-seeded teams, the teams that are much better in the world rankings, should be making it through with ease. If there is an upset, it's going to have to be a legit one, because you're going to have to overcome more than just fluking through a best of 1. With that, let's go ahead and take a look at our opening round matchups. Leading off the competition, we have Complexity taking on Alternate Attacks, followed by Eternal Fire taking on the Falcons, Heroic taking on MIBR, 3D Max taking on 9Z, Furia taking on Imperial, Pain taking on Team Liquid, FlyQuest taking on Big, and then we end it all with the Mongols taking on Saw. So right away, this is a pretty good field of teams. It's pretty similar to what we would see at the Challenger stage of the Major, for example. And there's definitely a hierarchy of competition going on here. Teams that definitely stand out as favorites right away. You have Team Liquid, Complexity, Falcons, Eternal Fire, Furia, the Mongols. For me, I would also throw Pain Gaming into that discussion. One team that would easily be in this discussion but has an unfortunate asterisk is Heroic, as they are once again going to be fielding this tournament without Dexter, who is one of, if not their best players. He's once again having travel issues. He can't make it to this event. That's 2 events in a row where Heroic are having to play with a stand-in. Now, they got Waro2K this time, who is definitely better than their coach, but he's also not nearly as good as Dexter, and that really sucks. Heroic are a good enough team, they have a good enough structure that they can still easily make it to the main event, but honestly, Heroic could have been a dark horse to not only make Cologne the main stage, they could make a run at winning the tournament if they had their full roster. But without that, it's very hard to project them doing much more than making the main stage and then taking a quick exit. Getting into some specific matchups, I think Complexity should easily be beating Alternate Attacks. However, it is Complexity, so I have a feeling they're going to make me sweat. It's probably going to be a 2-1 series. It should be a 2-0 in Complexity's favor, but you never know. You know, Elige could go missing and then suddenly things get really interesting. However, they should definitely win. After that, we have Eternal Fire taking on the Falcons. Eternal Fire have been absent from Tier 1 events for quite a while. Their last appearance at a Tier 1 major tournament was all the way back in Pro League Season 19. Afterwards, they went and won the CCT Global Finals, which was an okay tournament, but that was their last serious appearance. Like I said, no Tier 1 events going all the way back to the end of April, which means we're looking at nearly 3 months of absence from playing at the very highest level. Now, Eternal Fire are very much an any given day kind of team. When Woxic and Zontaras are tapped in, they are very overwhelming, very difficult to deal with. But oftentimes, if you're a veteran of this channel, I've pointed out, they don't really come online at the same time and together in the same games. So that makes Eternal Fire very streaky. When they are playing at the level that we expect of their 2-star players, they could easily take the series over the Falcons. But will we see that? I actually don't know. I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons just because they are the more consistent pick out of the two of these, though I really do think they are not as good in terms of the very peak of what we can get out of them, but they should be able to win the series 2-1 if Eternal Fire stumbles. Now, as much as I point out the issues with Heroic, I still think they are good enough to take on MIBR. MIBR kind of feels like a bit of a nothing lineup to me. The best part of this team is Insani, and he's no doubt a very good player. But at the same time, I don't think he's a better star player than Tessus, for example. So even without Dexter, I would expect Heroic to win this series. Playing with a stand-in is always difficult because you never know what your coordination is going to look like. So while I could see Heroic 2-0ing the series, I'm going to play it safe here. I think Heroic will win this one 2-1. Next up, we have 3D Max taking on 9Z. Honestly, I don't know much about 3D Max. I've not seen these guys play hardly at all. However, I think we all got to see that 9Z is a team with a huge amount of potential during their appearance at IEM Dallas. Obviously, they took 3rd to 4th at that tournament. They had some really impressive series wins over Vitality. They beat Mouse in a best of 1. They beat Liquid. This was before Liquid made those changes. They ended up losing to G2, who were on that miracle run at the tournament, remember? Overall, for the limited amount that I've seen them play, I think 9Z have a very great base to work on, and when I look at 3D Max by comparison, nothing really jumps out at me by this 3D Max roster to be super impressed by. Players like Maka and Lucky have some good stats for the last few months, but they've done it against not very good competition whatsoever. So again, given that I haven't really watched them play, I don't really have much of an eye test to work off of, but just kind of looking at the HLTV, looking at the stats, and what I know from 9Z, I'm going to take 9Z to win this series. Could 3D Max take a map? Sure, but I don't know. So I'm going to take 9Z to win this regardless. I think they should, and I would like to see them do well in this tournament overall. Next up, I don't know where all this Brazilian beef came from. It's starting to look like Fogo de Chao. We have Furia taking on Imperial. Both of these teams are coming in with recent roster changes, so they're looking to establish themselves and show what they can do. Overall, I think Caserado is the best player in the server in this series, and that means I'm automatically going to have some deference towards Furia. But it's hard to say. Try coming over from 9Z, he has potential to do really well. Decenti's a very good player, and Vinny, Phelps, and No Way make a good core behind them. So Imperial could be on the upward trend. It's really hard to tell. To me, this is probably the closest series out of the opening round. I could really see this going either way. If I had to make a pick, I think Caserado is a top 10 player in the world, so I would take Furia to win this if Caserado shows up in the way that we know he can. Next up, we have Pain Gaming taking on Liquid, and honestly, I think this one might be a bit of a surprising game for some people. Liquid right now are riding an extreme high. They're in the honeymoon period. They just dominated at the Blast groups. They're coming into Cologne. They're looking to really make a name for themselves. However, I would encourage everybody to not sleep on Pain Gaming. Big Azera is legit, and he runs this team very well. This team has upset potential. They've done it in the past. And if Liquid were ever going to slip up, I think it would be in the first game of a qualifier, where maybe JKS doesn't have a great starter, Ultimate cools off a little bit from Blast, Twist maybe doesn't quite match the star output while maintaining his role as in-game leader. These things could happen in an opening series, and that means the door is definitely open. Will I say Pain Gaming are going to beat Liquid? I actually don't think so. Could they take a map and make Liquid sweat? I think absolutely. Moving on, we have FlyQuest taking on Big. And this one I am torn on. I think there is a fair argument for both of these teams to win this series. I think they are very evenly matched in terms of strength. Now, what's interesting is that both of these teams are coming off of recent losses. FlyQuest did not have a good showing at the EWC, and obviously Big, they did not do well over at the Blast Vault groups. However, Big does have a couple of things going for them. Big won their last matchup against FlyQuest back at IEM Dallas. Also, Big could be bolstered by the fact they had a pretty impressive win over Virtus Pro in the Blast Fall groups despite their overall performance in the tournament. It's kind of hard to say. Another factor to possibly consider is that FlyQuest simply haven't played as many maps post-player break as Big have. That could definitely be a factor. Ooh, man, this game seems like a real coin flip. If I had to just blindly choose one, I would go with FlyQuest. I think I like the roster a bit better, but man, this one's gonna go either way. I can't be very certain in that prediction. Lastly, we have the Mongols taking on SAW Gaming. And honestly, if this was the SAW that we saw at the Major, then maybe I would be more willing to say that, hey, this could be a pretty close series. But SAW have been on a downward spiral since then, and they have not looked the same as they did during those performances. So overall, Mongols, they're a very consistent team. They're always somewhere in the top 15. And that's usually their ceiling. They're not usually able to get much better than that. With that being said, that means they're more than good enough to take care of SAW. They should be able to take care of business here and win this series, I think, pretty easily. Alright, with our first round matchups out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and take a shot in the dark here and predict my 8 teams that I think are going to make it through this play-in to the main event. Now, I think 2 teams that should make it through no matter what: Team Liquid, Complexity. Both of these teams are top 10 teams in the world in my opinion, and I think they should make it through this field pretty much no matter what. They don't have to face each other in the bracket, so there's no concern about them kind of ruining each other's chances. They should be able to qualify, I think, easily, and they should for sure be at the main event. After that, I have Heroic, the Mongols, Eternal Fire, Furia, Falcons, and 9Z making it through to the main event. Now, if you take a look at HLTV, you may have noticed that I've named off the top 8 teams by seeding, and that's because seeding exists for a reason. These are the 8 best teams. These teams should make it through to the main event. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they will. A few of these teams are pretty volatile. Furia, Eternal Fire, you never really know what you're going to get day to day. 9Z are a young team. They could easily slip up. Heroic are playing with a stand-in. That means they could absolutely blow up sky high. But on average, I would expect these 8 teams to be the ones who make it through, even if they have to make a lower bracket run. Now, if you wanted to really cook with gas for a second, you wanted to get a little spicy, teams that are dark horses that I absolutely could see making it to the main event: Pain Gaming and Imperial. At the end of the day, if the choice for me is like tier 2 European teams versus the very best possible teams out of Brazil, I'm going to lean on Brazil more often than not. Yeah, they're inconsistent, but I think the talent on these Brazilian teams is just simply better, more quality than what you see from the remaining teams in the field. But that's just my opinion. Alright, there you go. Those are my predictions for the IEM Cologne play-in. By the way, guys, if you didn't see my recent community post, here is the plan for how I'm going to be covering the tournament. I'm not going to be doing daily recaps for the play-in. I'm going to do one single recap when the play-ins are done, which will lead into the first day of competition right after. That way I am rested, recharged, and ready to go to give you guys daily recaps during the main event. That way that I have the energy to cover the spiciest stuff going on. So make sure you're subscribed and ready for all that cool content coming your way. Leave a like and leave a comment down below. Let me know your predictions for the play-in, and I'll be responding to them as always. These videos are powered by Advanced.gg. If you're looking for high quality energy, hydration, sleep aid related supplements, Advanced.gg has you covered. I stand by their products 100%. They are an immense help to my daily life, and I hope they will be to you too. If you browse their products and decide to make a purchase, you can use my code LIONS10 at checkout for 10% off. It lets them know that I sent you their way. Thank you to Advanced.gg as always. And thank you to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, and Dr. Cocktor. If you want to become a channel member, check the link in the description down below. Support me directly. Also, check me out on Twitch. I'll be live later tonight talking about the Cologne build-up. Come by, say hi, and with that, I'll see you guys in another video. Peace!